Hi, and welcome to Mertz. We're inside of our kitchen. I'm Jake Newton, the executive chef, welcoming you to the first of what will be many parts of a video series that we're calling Mertz at Home. At the restaurant, we cook all of our steaks in seasoned cast iron pans. There's a few reasons for that. The most important is the retention of heat. Our big conversation while we cook these steaks is high heat. We want to caramelize the meat as much as we can. That caramelization is called the Maillard reaction. And that's what's going to give us all the flavor on the steak. So cast iron is perfect for that, that we're going to throw on the stove to get wicked hot. We're going to talk about seasoning steak. So all of these details sounds exhausting at times, but they're very simple to execute and they really pay off in the end. So when we talk about seasoning at the restaurant, we first, of course, want to start with high quality meat. We then want to dry the meat thoroughly with just a paper towel or a kitchen rag. That's going to allow us to get that perfect sear that we were talking about. Wet steak is just going to steam in the pan, dry steak is going to caramelize in the pan. Finally, we can season it with salt and pepper. You don't want to do this until you're just about to sear the steak, because when you add salt, it's going to draw the natural moisture out of the steak, thus not allowing you to get the perfect sear that you were asking for. Everybody asks us, man, what do you season those steaks with? It tastes incredible. What is that? It's nothing more than salt and pepper. Steaks are seasoned. Let's get them in the pan. So again, name of the game for cooking steaks is we want to cook hot. We want to have a nice preheated pan that's going to allow us to caramelize the outside of the steak. So cast iron's been warmed up. We have added a little bit of vegetable oil here just to coat the bottom, and we're going to put the steaks in. Now, there's an art to putting steaks in a pan. We talk about this a lot at the restaurant. The hottest point in the pan is the furthest point from the handle. The handle in the cast iron is going to take heat away from the pan. So we want to put one steak in the hottest place. You can hear how hot that is. And we want to put the other steak in what's considered the cooler place. That way when we rotate, we'll get some even caramelization. And we'll let them rest for maybe a minute. You know, there's a common misconception in my opinion that once you put the steak in the pan, not to touch it. So we're going to let this sear for a second, and then we're going to continue to rotate them to the hot points of the pan. Again, we're trying to get as much caramelization as we can without cooking the steak too much from the exterior. Before we rotate, we've kind of just jostled the pan a little bit to make sure the pan is evenly coated with that cooking fat. And then we're just going to rotate. We're not going to flip. We're just going to rotate the steaks. Big key is here. We don't want to overcrowd the pan. We don't want to cook too much towards the perimeter because that's going to cook the side of the steak. We just want to rotate 90 degrees. Again, a slight press. Leave it for another minute. While this rotation is searing, the side we were just on is reheating. So you're constantly getting that hot temperature in the steak. We're going to jostle the pan around to make sure that fat is evenly coated. This time we're going to rotate and we're going to flip. So we've gone from one flat side, rotate, to a flip. You can kind of see how we've formed that nice golden crust on the outside. That's where all the flavor is coming from. Same process. Flip, press down gently. We're not smashing it. We're not making burgers. We're just making sure that the surface of the steak is flat on the pan. Same process on this side. We're going to sear for a minute. We're going to rotate, sear for a minute, and we're going to pull the steaks out of the pan. Minute has passed. What are we doing? We're rotating. A rotate, not a flip, but a rotate. A gentle press. Make sure that the steak is searing evenly. A jostle of the pan in oil to make sure that is also evenly distributed. You guessed it, another minute. We've got a sear on both sides. We're going to come this way towards you. And we're going to take the steaks out of the pan. You can see that caramelization on both sides. We're going to let the steaks rest on a wire rack so they can cool all around. And now we've let it rest for the first time. This is what most people at home don't do. They might just throw the steak on the pan, into the oven, onto the grill, shut the door, forget about it. These little resting points, little details are going to make a big change in your home cooking. So during this first rest, we've taken that compound butter, just melted butter with thyme, garlic, and salt, and we're going to liberally brush it on the steak. The goal with this rest is to cool the exterior, the part that we just seared in that hot cast iron. We're gonna cool that to all the way down to like body temperature. That way when we put it in the oven to finish cooking it, it all comes up. The outside and the inside is coming up to temperature perfectly, and that way you're gonna have that nice kind of light pink to rosy center like you would for a medium rare steak. We're gonna let these rest probably 5 minutes, room temperature, periodically brushing with this compound butter. We're just at the end of our preliminary, our first rest on the steak. They've rested here probably, maybe 5 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes. We're gonna take these first rested tenderloins onto an oven safe, whether it be a sizzle tray like we call it here, a small like quarter sheet or half sheet tray. My mom would call those cookie sheets, anything oven safe. You just want it to be like room temperature. You don't want it to be a hot pan yet. That's gonna go into theme of the cooking process, a hot oven. This is a convection oven at 450 degrees. If you're not cooking convection, that's not a big deal. Bump that thing up to 500 degrees and we'll cook the steak perfectly that way. Into a hot oven, we're gonna cook these steaks to medium rare. We're gonna start with a 3-minute timer. We're gonna simply flip the steaks over. At this point, our tray, cookie sheet, pan, whatever you're cooking on at home has gotten hot. We want to make sure the steaks continue to cook evenly. So like we would in the pan, we're going to rotate, but rotate to off of that original marker. Medium rare steaks, we're going back in the oven. We'll see you in another 3 minutes. The Morgan Ranch tenderloins are coming out for what we'll call the final rest. Now, this is when a little bit of patience goes a long way. It's gonna also when the steaks smell their best. So we're gonna go back on the resting rack, let them cool all the way around. While they're cooling, we're then gonna baste with that compound butter, thyme, garlic, and salt. And we're gonna not mess with them, i.e. slice them up and eat them, for at least 8 minutes. An instant meat thermometer, it's gonna tell you exactly where you are with the steak. A medium rare steak, we might pull out of the oven or stop cooking at about 110 to 115 degrees. It's gonna rest up to that 120, 125. So if we're reading 110 to 115 at the heart of this steak, we know we're gonna be right in the wheelhouse here. Before we slice them, we're gonna lightly baste them one more time with that compound butter. And we're gonna slice that. At the restaurant, we always slice the steaks, but here it's just gonna be right down the middle. Sharp knife, one slice, straightforward. The reverse is just to reset it, and we're sliced. One last little saucing of the steak, if you will. A little sea salt on the inside. There's nothing better than that. That's a Morgan Ranch, Nebraska Wagyu, 6-ounce tenderloin, cooked in a cast iron, just like we do here at the Mertz, to medium rare. Buy quality beef, whether it be from the Mertz, Morgan Ranch, the grocery store, cook it hot, baste it with butter, season it with salt, and be organized while you do it.